10K special! I actually can't believe I'm saying this, but it's 10,000 people. So thank you so much for tuning in. Thank you so much for being here with me. And I have a special message that I wanted to share with all of you and make a wish and celebrate properly. So that's at the end of the video. But for today's very special video, what I wanted to do was answer 10 questions from you and also give 10 random followers who reacted to my story and who I then picked using a random spinner 10 book recommendations. So honestly, there's so much I want to do in this video, and thank you so much for being here, and I hope you enjoy it. So let's dive straight into answering the questions. Okay, so the first question I got is, do you like writing? If so, what type of writing? Is there a book you recommend for creative writing? Honestly, I love that we're starting the video with this question. I do write. There's been a bit of an evolution of my writing, I feel, over the years, because I started off writing fantasy and science fiction because those were the genres I like to read more, and then as time progressed and I grew older, I really enjoy literary fiction now, and honestly, that's the kind of stories I want to write too. The stories I want to write are stories about people and about life. I do not enjoy writing nonfiction unless it's an academic essay and it's a topic that really interests me. That's actually a direction I, spoiler alert, want to explore more with Felina's pages as we continue to grow. So not only making exam content and giving book reviews, but also providing some essays and my own takes on certain things, whether it's the symbolism of a pomegranate or a deep dive into Sylvia Plath. So there's a couple of ideas that I have about that, but I do mostly enjoy writing fiction for myself. And if you're interested in reading a piece, if you remember, I made a video about shopping at black holes after I won the Black Hole Short Story Prize, because that story is published online. If you want to read some of my writing, you are very, very welcome to, and please let me know what you think. I always love to hear your thoughts. So there's the link there. In terms of like books about writing, there's actually not a single book I would recommend. It's just reading in general, because I think the best writers are readers, and this has been said countless times before, and I think it's so well deserved because it's absolutely true. Read the books that you enjoy, look at the style, look at the themes, look at the writing, look at the things that you want to emulate or the things that inspire you, because I think a massive part of reading for me and what gives me joy about the reading experience is because it's often so thought-provoking and it prompts me into my own self-discovery through the discovery of these characters. And so I think that if you want to be a better writer, or if you want to read about writing, instead of reading about somebody telling you how to write, just read. If a museum about you had a gift shop, what would the souvenirs be? Okay, I love this question so much. That's the most creative question I've ever heard in my life. Honestly, I don't know. Like, this one I have to think about, but probably things that I really enjoy are the things that I would want to have in a museum about me. So if a book that I write gets published fully, then copies of that book, obviously, but also just some small things that bring me joy that I would like to bring you joy. So for example, my favorite flowers, those are peonies and tulips and lavender and lilacs, which I unfortunately don't have here, but I have a lovely little bouquet. I would want like small prints of my favorite artworks. That's Ophelia by John Everett Mills, that's The Dance by Matisse, that's Carnation Lily Lily Rose by Sargent. There's Monet's Lilies. There's just honestly so many that I feel like if I start listing them, this is going to go on forever. But yeah, small art prints that I enjoy. I would also want to have my top 10 favorite books of all time, and that's actually another question I was asked, but I'm going to answer that in probably a whole separate other video, because I could talk about the books I love forever. Just because I really like museums that are interactive and that have the whole perfume smelling thing, where you can smell a perfume that's inspired by a particular painting. I just want to have my favorite perfumes in the museum, which are, and this is not an ad by the way, this is my genuine favorite. I really like Demeter's Lilac because I love lilac and it reminds me of my childhood. And I also really like The Merchant of Venice Mandarin Carnival, which I discovered on, guess what, a trip to Venice. I love it because The Merchant of Venice is one of my favorite Shakespeare plays. I love it because I love tangerines, so Mandarin Carnival, and obviously like Venice and the travel connection. 8 desert island discs. Right, so this one was actually so hard to answer, and I'm not sure if discs meant like albums, so if I would need to choose 8 albums, but I have a tendency to not listen to albums but to listen to individual songs. So what I did instead was I just picked 8 songs that I enjoy listening to and that I think would be good because there's a different mix of genres and vibes. So firstly, I would probably pick take kino, перемен, and that's because, well, first of all, I love kino, and I think that if you want to explore more Russian music, this is what you should start with. And also, of course, Victor Tsoi, he's Russian Korean, just like me. He's just like me for real. The next song I would probably take is Slim Shady by Eminem. I grew up listening to this and I in general love Eminem. He's one of my favorite artists. He's my favorite rapper, which nobody ever expects, but I listen to him on like a daily basis. And when I was growing up, my mom and I used to blast Eminem going to school. Again, probably not the most age appropriate thing, but oh well. So I would 100% take an Eminem song, and I just think Slim Shady is like the OG vibe, so that's the vibe I would want to bring to a desert island. I would take Woman by Doja Cat. That's because I think that this is a very island song. Oh, Save Your Tears by The Weeknd. I saw a reel once that was like, oh, I'm not sad, I just wanted to listen to The Weeknd, and I think that also describes me. This is 100% my pick-me-up. Also probably Впереди by Dайте Tank. Again, another Russian song that I would recommend. I would also take Fair Trade by Drake, and that's just because of one line, which I think is a very important line to remember, especially if you're on a desert island. It's, I've been losing friends and finding peace, and honestly that sounds like a fair trade to me. So the reason why I think that this is a very important line to have is because I think it's absolutely true that it gets lonely at the top, and the more you become interested in something, the more that you devote your time to a particular interest, the harder it is for you to find your people. And so I think that when you're on a desert island alone, you just need to remember that this is, yeah, that this is lonely, that this is terrifying, but that this is also an opportunity to grow and to self-develop and to learn more about yourself. So why not take a song like this to accompany you? And also, of course, C'est le temps de l'amour by Francois Hardy. I love it. This is like the song that I would listen to walking across the street, dreaming of my perfect European summer. And the last one, oh, clearly Gökten by Iceberg. Favorite 4 movies a la Letterbox. Right, this was hard because if you know me, and this person does know me, they know that I basically don't watch movies ever. In fact, I had to Google what Letterboxd was, and from what I gathered, it's kind of like a platform where you can review movies, in case you also, like me, you don't know, and people would just kind of leave comments that sort of read like unhinged Twitter threads that are oftentimes not even related to the movie, but somehow make you want to watch the movie. So here goes my attempt. Okay, so my favorite movie, like one of my favorite movies of all time, is Legally Blonde. And I would probably say about this, if I had to review this a la Letterboxd, is I would say this. This is the movie that, although it didn't make me want to go to law school, made sure that I wouldn't drop out. Because every time I think about dropping out of law school, I rewatch this movie, and it keeps me going. So on a daily basis. Right. Next movie, and I think that this one should count as 2 volumes, and that's definitely not because I just could not think of 4 movies for the life of me. It's Kill Bill, Volume 1 and Volume 2 by Tarantino. Honestly, I love to-do lists, and this is the most iconic to-do list. Like, this is as iconic as it gets. That's all I have to say about this one. And French Dispatch. So this is probably one of my favorite Wes Anderson movies, not because of the colors, but because of the themes. It also reminds me of The Unbearable Lightness of Being by Milan Kundera, and I love that book. And also, I mean, there are newspapers. Like, I have to love this movie. There are newspapers involved, and honestly, one of my favorite things about starting at Oxford was the opportunity to get involved more in student journalism, because I love every aspect of it. I've discovered not only writing, but editing, designing the layout of the newspaper, just every little tiny thing in this process. So that's why The French Dispatch is up there in my list of favorites. Which book would you adapt into a film, and who would direct and star in it? Right, every day I wait for an adaptation of The Secret History. And for certain, please don't sue me, I do not want it to be a Netflix style drama. I do not want a teenage heartthrob. I do not want some attractive Timothée Chalamet, conventionally attractive actor who's too old to be playing a university student, and I don't want this to turn into a love drama. What I want is slow aesthetic shots Tarkovsky-style slowness. I want aesthetic snow shots. I want the snow falling. I want quiet. I want stillness. And I want strange, strange actors who have an unconventional beauty about them, who are slightly eerie looking, but who have that natural charm from having an inner beauty and some sort of enchanting attraction to them, this mysterious charismatic quality which makes you want to think that they're not from this planet. Like someone like Alex Kanzani to play Camilla. And yeah, like, you get the vibe. I don't know enough actors to contribute more to this secret history adaptation of Polina Kim's directed vision, but like, this is what I would want to happen, and I hope you understand the vibe. If you had to choose a single author, poet, or playwright to read for the rest of your life, who would you choose? Right, this is a question that respectfully makes me want to jump off a cliff because it's so hard to choose. And I thought about it, and I thought about this one for a while actually, because I was like, well, if I pick Dostoevsky, I will 100% jump off that cliff. I love Dostoevsky, but if I could only read Dostoevsky for the rest of my life would probably not be very long. I think is the solution to that. Then I thought about having someone who has a little bit more, I don't know, happy thoughts about the human condition. So I thought, what about picking Roko Sekiguchi, who makes me fall in love with the beauty of life? What about picking Han Kang, who's my favorite Korean author and who also has some brilliant, if also slightly dark, like all the books I read, observations. But then I realized that modern authors and their limited selection of books, they're lovely authors and I would love to read them, but they just don't have that timeless element of a classic yet, and they simply don't have enough. Like, they only have 3 or 4 books published. I've read all of them, I'm a massive fan, and it's like, if I could only read that for the rest of my life, I think I'd go crazy, because I cannot go a week without reading something, otherwise, like, that's it. It's insanity mode in here. So I thought about it some more, and I think my answer would probably be Marcel Proust, and that's because I think he has everything in his work. He has all the themes and all the specter of human emotions, from happiness to the deepest sadness. And it's like, maybe if I read Marcel Proust for the rest of my life, I'd find lost time. Like, I'm sorry, I had to take that pun, it was right there. But you get what I mean. It's a massive, massive book, and I've only read the first 2 volumes, and it's already one of my favorite books ever. Again, top 10 books of all times. But it's also just, I feel like I could come back to it again and again, because there are so many small, tiny details in the story which you just can't grasp your mind around from the beginning. These are books that you need to reread, and I feel like no matter what you read by Proust, there will be interesting things to reflect on. Then somebody asked for book recs, and they said that they enjoy literary fiction, horror, and romance. So it's always very difficult for me to give book recommendations when I don't know exactly what kind of literature you like, which is why the 10 recommendations for 10 of you was quite difficult, especially as I don't know some of you at all, and I was going based on the profile pic vibe. But I think that there are books which are, there are no books which are universal. Like, there's no one book which everyone would like, but I think there are books which are so well written and that cover so many interesting themes that it's just like a probability thing that you will probably enjoy it, because it has so much to it that if you enjoy certain elements of it, like great writing or fabulous world building or brilliant characters, that it will just all come together, and there's a chance that you might enjoy this book. Memory Piece by Lisa Ko. So I read this, I think, last year. It's been a while, but it's just a book that I keep coming back to again and again in some of the observations that it says about the future and where we're all going as a society, because it follows 3 American Asian women who are growing up essentially, and this is going from like the early 2000s to far, far, far into the future. It doesn't start in the early 2000s, but there's quite a big focus on the Y2K years and sort of technology and the impact, and there's kind of a love life, and there's friendships, and there's aging, and there's maturing, and there's all sorts of very kind of literary fiction themes that are covered, which are covered very well. And I really enjoyed the structuring of this book, and I enjoyed the way that the 3 characters were woven together. So I think there was a quite smooth and compelling narrative. So if you enjoy literary fiction, I would recommend that. Horror-wise, Walking Practice by Do Kim Min, I think. Again, this is the reason why I'm probably scared of dating apps because it's about an alien who goes on dating apps and, you know, finds his victims there. Then there's Tender the Flesh, if you want a bit of cannibalism to spice up your life. Romance, you guys know, I just not a fan. Like, I only read romance if it's like Sally Rooney, and that's not even considered romance as its own genre. The one that I would wholeheartedly recommend is White Nights by Dostoevsky. I mean, it's Dostoevsky, and it's a love story. And yes, it's depressing, but it's also heartwarming and heart-wrenching. And it's the truest, most genuine love story that I've read in a while. Rex for a novel set in Middle Ages or the Renaissance. Right, this is the moment where I realize I do not read enough from this period. I read about this period, I can tell you a lot about the art of this period, but I do not read books set in this period. So I only have one recommendation really, one book I can think of. It's Wolf Hole by Hilary Mantel, which is, I guess, somewhat basic recommend. Like, I'm sure you've read this, the person who's asking this, because this is a very niche kind of period. But like, it's set during the Tudor period. It's about Cromwell's rise to power, and technically Tudor period Renaissance. Like, it runs in parallel, same kind of 1500s, 1600s time zone. Like, honestly, I wouldn't say I'm the biggest fan of historical fiction, but I really enjoyed this one because I think the way it was written, it just made it like a very exciting, fast-paced, but at the same time thoughtful, slow in its focus on certain dynamics novel. And like, I'm not a fan of politics, and there are obviously a lot of politics involved. It's a story about Cromwell, but even then I managed to enjoy it, and it even got me like invested in this court drama, rise to power. And Hilary Mantel is a fabulous writer. Portfolio for Oxford. Right, this one did make me laugh because it was a very random question given my recent direction about posting about a little bit more vlogs and things about my life, because you guys seem to enjoy it about Oxford. So I'm just gonna very quickly run through the things that I did. Fair warning, it's quite a lot. It wasn't to prepare for Oxford, it's just because I'm genuinely interested in a lot of things. So obviously in my portfolio I had a lot of extracurriculars, and I had this blog. So my booktube, my bookstagram, 6 languages. I speak English, Russian, French. I speak a bit of Korean, a bit of Chinese, a bit of Latin, so kind of, yeah, linguistic interests. Honestly, writing and essay writing, I won quite a few essay competitions. Work experience, I did a lot of like legal work experience in quite a few different companies before I applied. Contributions to school life, I did a lot of charity and pro bono initiatives and clubs and kind of different societies. So I was in the yearbook club, newspaper writing, history society, MUN, debating, presidents of debating. I was head girl. So I just did everything that I could do, and I honestly urge you to do the same. But what I would particularly urge you to do is to just explore what you're interested in, rather than doing things that you think will make you a better Oxford applicant. Like I wanted to apply to Oxford, but all of this was never to go to Oxford. I play tennis and volleyball for myself, not because, oh, I need a sport to show on my application. Yeah, but if you're interested, one of the things I do is I am actually employed as a mentor. So if you want extra help, please reach out. We can discuss some things. I can't believe I'm promoting my other work in this video, but oh well. Wraps up all the questions I was asked. Thank you so much for everyone who asked a question. I hope you found my response interesting, and let's dive straight into the recommendations. I had so much fun with this one. Like, every time the spinner landed on a name and I saw the name, I was like, ah! And then I like went into a whole rabbit hole trying to figure out what the person would like. So if you made it onto the list, congrats. This is all random, like I did not pick, except for the first person, because Kenneth, you deserve to be picked. You were here with me for a long time now. I honestly like can't even remember when we first met. We've never met in person, but you are one of my most engaged followers, and you're always writing really interesting messages and things, and I'm always really happy to hear from you, even though, as you know, I don't always respond on time because my DMs are constantly flooded, but I really enjoy our conversations. And I just, yeah, like I really wanted to make sure that I would recommend you a book, and it was probably the most difficult to pick which book I would recommend for you, and I changed my answer like 100 times, so I'm actually going to check my notes to see what I ended up choosing, because it was so hard to choose. Oh, right. So I picked 2 actually because I couldn't pick one. So first is Invitation to a Beheading. It's by Nabokov, and I love Nabokov. He's one of my favorite Russian writers. And I just think that given some of the conversations that we've had, it's a novel you may feel you might relate to in some ways, and it's a novel that I think you will enjoy because it will make you reflect. So it's a dystopian world, and the main character, the protagonist, he is essentially sentenced to be beheaded for some kind of imaginary crime, and this world is a complete horror shit show, for lack of other words. And I just think, given some of the conversations we've had, I would hope that you would find comfort in it. And it's just a fabulously written book, and it's quite a short story, so I know that you prefer nonfiction, but I do hope that you will enjoy this one. And then, because I also wanted to recommend a nonfiction book, I wanted to recommend Crying in H Mart, which is a memoir by a Korean American author. So you know why, you know why I picked this one. I like, there were a lot of things I could relate to, and there's a lot there about loss and about healing, and I just think that it's a really good memoir. So I have these two books that I picked for you, and I really, really hope you enjoy them. Please let me know what you think. Right, next person. So the next person the spinner landed on was Howlin. I have no idea who this person is. Thank you for being a follower. So I decided to give you recommends based on the profile pic. So when I saw this profile pic, I thought it's giving thoughtful queen who deeply considers everything. Maybe it's also giving lover girl if you see the right people. So I thought about what I would recommend, and I ended up picking Mrs. Dalloway by Virginia Woolf, which is one of my favorite novels ever. I recommend it because of the stream of consciousness, because of the thoughtful observations on life, the poignant takes on certain moments that are, I think, ubiquitous in everybody's life and being, because of the heart-wrenching love, but also the deep consideration and the thoughtful consideration of societal structures and problems and limits that people have, and especially women have. And I feel that based on your vibe, this is a book you would enjoy. So please let me know what you think. Right, Hechin. So I feel like you would really enjoy a story where there's a massive element that is unknown. And I stalked your profile a bit. I'm sorry, I stalked everybody's profile a bit. And I saw that you have a watch account. So from this, I inferred, I inferred that you might really enjoy fiddling with the small things, and so you're probably a person who pays attention to the small detail. And so a book that I thought of was 1Q84 by Murakami. It's a little bit whack, it's a little bit out there, so I hope you would enjoy it, even though as a first recommendation it's a little bit, yeah, out of pocket maybe. But essentially the main character gets out of a taxi and finds herself in a world where there are three moons, and the whole story is kind of trying to figure out how to get back. And there's a whole, well, it's magical realism, so there's a whole load of like psychedelic, random, extremely strange, bizarre things that are going on. But if you pay attention, you start to see how they all fit together. So I would hope that this is a mystery you enjoy solving. Right, Sujin. So I know that you're a med student, and I also know that you enjoy historical fiction. So a recent read of mine that I thought that you would particularly enjoy, and I actually thought of you when I read it as well, is Brotherless Night. So it's a story about a young girl who dreams of becoming a doctor, and she starts working hard towards it. And then the Sri Lankan Civil War breaks out. So there's quite a lot there, and there's also a lot about brotherly love. And I know you have a brother, so it was kind of just the ideal rec. And it's a very thoughtful, very emotional story. It's also written very well, but at the same time, it's very engaging. And I know you're a busy med student, so you probably don't have a lot of time, but I promise that the time will pass by very quickly when you're reading the story, and you will want to make time for it. So I recommend Brotherless Night. Right, the next person is Virag. I was so happy when the random spinner fell on you because you're one of my oldest Bookstagram friends, and I don't know if this is a secret, so I'm not going to say anything, but congratulations on your recent big event in your life, and I'm so happy to have contributed to the surprise, and I genuinely wish you all the best. So when I thought of you, I thought of someone who really likes nature, and that's why I wanted to pick There Are Rivers in the Sky by Alif Shafak. So this is a novel about, I think it's three different people from three different time zones, and they're all connected in a wonderful, brilliant way, which you discover as you read more of the story. And there's also a lot there about rivers and bodies of water and appreciation for nature, and in general, human interaction with nature. So I think that if this is a theme you enjoy, this is a novel that you will particularly love. And Alif Shafak has beautiful, breathtaking writing. Bonus point for being called Alif, and we also have a shared other Bookstagram friend, Code Leaf, as well. So this is the recommendation for you. Next up, we have Sarah. So the profile and just in general the vibes is giving iconic bad bee energy. So you seem like the type of person who enjoys my year of rest and relaxation. I don't know, it's just the vibe that I'm feeling. So I wanted to recommend another book with an iconic female protagonist, but I kind of went the more dark, depraved, exciting, interesting way. We support women's rights, but we also support women's wrongs, you know? So I picked Animal by Lisa Taddeo. The main character, the protagonist, she at one point says, "I am depraved, I hope you like me." And I think that tells you everything you need to know. It's extremely dark, it's peak female rage. I hope you enjoy it. Let me know what you think. Right, next up, Terrain. Okay, I genuinely, like, this is embarrassing, but I genuinely have no idea what kind of literature you like. Do you like psychological thrillers? I hope you do, because I decided to recommend a psychological thriller for you. I picked The Silent Patient. This is a book that I feel everyone likes, and I just think that this is a very foolproof way of picking a book for someone who you don't know what they sort of like to read, because it's fast-paced, it's engaging, there's a brilliant mystery, there are a lot of plot twists. Essentially, the story is this. So there was a woman in a loving relationship with her husband, and then suddenly she killed him. Or, well, people think that she killed him, nobody knows for sure. And right after she did that, she just went silent, and she's not spoken for years. I think it's like 7 years or something like that. And then essentially the protagonist of the story is trying to solve the mystery. So he goes to the asylum where she's detained, or maybe it's a hospital, and then he's trying to kind of get her to speak and open up about what happened. It's extremely interesting from every perspective, from the mystery perspective. It's also not that long as a novel, so I figured that, you know, it might be a good recommendation to start off with. I am genuinely curious to hear if you will like it, so please let me know what you think. Right, next up, Alicia. So I know you love Sally Rooney, so I wanted to pick a book that was Rooney-esque in its themes, if that's a word that I just coined. So I wanted to pick Greek Lessons by Han Kang because I think that you would enjoy it. It's a very poignant tale about two people finding comfort in each other, which I think is perfect for fans of Sally Rooney. So one is losing his vision, and a woman has lost her speech. And they're both kind of united by the suffering, but they also find comfort in each other. And there's a lot there about human relations and emotions and senses and the processing of trauma. So I just think that it's all round a very beautiful piece of literature, and I love Han Kang, and she's one of my favorite authors, and I think you enjoy her. Next up, Ify. So from what I know, you seem like an extremely cheerful person who really enjoys life, and you're giving book talk girly who likes romance, but a more thoughtful book talk girly who doesn't want just empty romance, but who wants like a proper, interesting book to think about and to remember for a while, as well as a good story to keep you entertained. So what I thought I'd recommend is This Is How You Lose the Time War. It's an epistolary novel, which, in case you don't know, it means it's a novel written through letters, and it's about two rival agents who are fighting for two different sides, trying to kind of jump through time using time machines to ruin each other's plans, to set traps for each other. And it's just very funny, very engaging, very quick-paced, good in case you're in a rush and you're in a short attention span, and obviously you study at Oxford, so you're also very busy. Okay, and last but not least, Mimi. I think you enjoy whimsy. And I don't just think that based on your beautiful orange hair. You're giving whimsy vibes. So I wanted to recommend a novel that has a lot of whimsy, but so a novel that will allow you to escape from this world into another world, but at the same time that is very thoughtful and leaves you feeling connected to this world. So it's not just like like mindless escapism. It's a novel that has connections and that makes you want to feel personally engaged, and it's very, very human. It's a novel called Mina's Matchbox by Yoko Okagawa, who's one of my favorite authors. So it's a story about a young girl who I think is 12 or 10, who gets shipped off to her uncle's house by her mother to live with him for a year. And in the uncle's house, she basically lives with this extremely wealthy family, and also her cousin Mina. And Mina is a pyromaniac who rides on a pygmy hippo to go to school. Peak whimsy. It's also very engaging, and it also just has that lovely childhood vibe, which makes you feel like you're a kid again, finding joy in the smallest things. So I think it's a beautiful, beautiful book. And honestly, Yoko Ogawa, The Memory Police, is also a book I feel like you would enjoy. Same author, so let's count it as one recommendation. And since we're speaking of pyromaniacs, 10,000 is a number that feels truly magical. And what a plot twist in my story to have so many of you join this journey. So I want to say thank you. Whether you're here from my exam content, or whether you're here from my book reviews, or whether you just want to read more and you want some motivation, so you decided to start following me, or whether it's just because we're friends in real life, I don't know. From the bottom of my heart, thank you for being here. And right now, I want to blow out the candles to finding more great books, to reading more poetry lines that take your breath away, to having more A-star grades, and to honestly to continue growing and to continue building a community of book lovers. We out the candles to all these things and many more. So thank you.